Mira felt a pounding headache as she opened her eyes. She checked the time on her phone. 9 p.m. She had barely been asleep for 30 minutes. Her gaze drifted toward the wall beside her bed, listening as the source of her headache floated into the room, a male voice singing while strumming a guitar. It was undeniably beautiful. Perhaps at another time and place, she would have even cherished the chance to hear such a lovely performance. But not tonight. She was desperate for a few hours of sleep before waking to grade homework, structure her lesson for tomorrow, and finally leave in the early hours of the morning to face her brutal work schedule. As an English teacher at a top international school, the singing and strumming grew louder, pulling at her nerves until she could no longer endure it. Finally, Mira, exhausted as she was, threw her blanket aside, climbed out of bed, and stomped toward the door of her tiny studio apartment. For Han Seojun, however, this was one of those rare nights when he felt completely one with his music. He had just written this song, which was a reflection of his struggles, and was nearly moved to tears as he played. But a sharp knock on his door dragged him out of his mental paradise. He stared at the door, upset at the interruption. When the knock came again, he reluctantly set his guitar down and walked toward it, opening it with apprehension. He wasn't prepared for the sight before him. A petite, apparently foreign woman stood there in her pajamas, arms crossed, hair tousled, and feet bare. "Can I help you?" he asked, stifling a laugh. She seemed to suddenly register her own appearance, and his amusement only deepened her annoyance. "I would appreciate it if you turned the music down. As majestic as your voice is, I still need to sleep," Mira said, forcing composure into her tone. Seojun couldn't tell whether or not she was being sarcastic about his voice. He exhaled and replied, "You must be new here. I'm sorry, but I usually practice until 9:30 p.m. I've checked with the other neighbors, and they're fine with it." "Well, I'm not," Mira shot back, planting her feet firmly. Then, more calmly, she added, "Look, I need to be up at 2 in the morning, and that's going to be harder if I can't get to sleep before 9:30. "I'm sorry," Seojun said, his face softening with genuine regret. "But I work late, and this is the only time I have to practice. Then maybe do it somewhere else?" Mira said, tilting her head. "I plan to rent a private practice space soon. For now, I'll keep the music as low as I can. Is that all right?" Seojun offered. Mira pursed her lips before finally saying, "Okay." "Good night," she turned and walked away. "Good night," Seojun whispered into the empty spot where she had stood. Back in his room, Seojun stared at the thin walls and felt the familiar sting of failure. This was one of the cheapest apartments in the city, its paper-thin construction offering almost no soundproofing. He had been lucky that his neighbors usually came home late and weren't disturbed by his playing. But the new lady was different. He couldn't blame her, he blamed himself. Seojun had abandoned a career in physics to pursue music, a choice that had alienated him from his family and friends. At first, he had worked tirelessly to bring his dream to life, but nothing seemed to fall into place. And as time passed, he believed in this dream less each day. Stable jobs were nearly impossible to hold down when he was always taking a leave for last-minute gigs or auditions. Now he survived on part-time work, where at least someone could cover his shift if he needed to chase another fleeting opportunity. He pushed the heavy thoughts away and picked up his guitar again, strumming much more softly this time. Mira returned to her room and lay down, feeling somewhat victorious. She could still faintly hear the music, but it was tolerable enough for her to drift back to sleep. As her eyelids grew heavy, she couldn't help but feel a tinge of sadness in the voice on the other side of the wall. A week later, Mira was returning from work when she saw Seojun standing outside his door, staring blankly ahead as if caught in a trance. She wanted to keep walking, but her curiosity got the better of her. "Hey, are you okay?" she asked gently. He jumped, startled. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you there. Are you okay?" Mira repeated, her voice softer this time. Seojun looked away. "I'm fine. It's just nothing. Thanks," he said quickly, fumbling with his keys. Even as he spoke, a lump formed in his throat, and tears stung his eyes. Oh no, it would be humiliating if he cried in front of her. Sensing his need for space, Mira quickly said, "All right, I'll leave you to it then." As soon as he slipped inside, he collapsed onto the floor, pulled his knees to his chest, and let the sobs come. He told himself to stop, to be strong, but the more he resisted, the harder the tears fell. He had just been fired. Again, a producer from a record label had shown interest in his music, giving him a time and place to meet on short notice. He had left work and arrived on schedule, expectant, only to find no one. His calls went unanswered, and hours later, an email coldly dismissed him, saying they were not interested anymore. Why had he let himself hope? Half an hour later, there was a knock on his door. He opened it to find the feisty little lady from before. Looking more mellow this time, she held out a box of cookies. "I got a couple of these from my students today," Mira said softly. "I can't possibly finish them all. You can have this box if you'd like." Her sweet and unexpectedly tender smile disarmed him completely. Yes. Sure. Thanks," he said, taking the box. "I'm Seojun," he blurted as she turned to leave. She paused, turning back. "What? My name. It's Han Seojun. And you?" He blushed slightly, not even sure why he hadn't wanted her to leave yet. Mira Mabena," she replied. He repeated it under his breath, then said it aloud, pleased when she smiled and nodded in approval. "So, you're a teacher?" he asked, continuing the conversation. "Yes, I teach English at the Daewon International Academy," Mira answered. Seojun knew the school. Prestigious, wealthy, the kind of place only the elite attended. Teachers there earned impressive salaries. Why was she living in this run-down building? He didn't ask, though. "And you? What do you do?" Mira asked. I studied physics, but keeping a job while chasing music has been a bit difficult, so I work part-time in restaurants," Seojun admitted. Mira nodded. "Rough day today?" Seojun exhaled. "I had to leave work early to meet a prospect. My boss wasn't having it, so I lost my job." "Oh, how did the meeting go?" Mira asked, hoping for a bright side to the story. "They never showed up," he said flatly. Mira winced. "I'm sorry." "No, it's fine. Happens all the time," Seojun said with a faint smile. Then, out of nowhere, Mira said, "The weather's lovely this evening. Want to take a walk? You could show me around since I'm new here." Seojun blinked in surprise but nodded. He placed the cookies on his table and followed her outside. As they walked, he pointed out nearby stores, cafes, a laundromat, and so on. Finally, he asked the question that had been on his mind. "It's quite the distance to Daewon from here. Why are you living so far away?" Mira chuckled. "You mean, why am I not in one of those nicer apartments closer to town since I should be able to afford it?" Regretting the question, he quickly said, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pry." "It's fine," Mira said, shrugging. Then, after a pause, she added, "I'm just saving and investing for the future. Also, my family owns a small paper factory back home in Botswana. But things have been rough lately. Some months we can barely make payroll, and after paying employees, there's not much left. My siblings are still in school, so I help however I can. A more expensive apartment means less that I can do for them." Seojun turned his head to study her. He was an only child, raised by parents who, though not wealthy, were very well off. He had never carried the weight of supporting a family. Maybe that was why he had been reckless enough to abandon a stable career for music. Compared to her, his struggles, which were of his own making, seemed insignificant, and his decisions selfish. But when she looked at him, he saw no hint of resentment or contempt. "You're stronger than you look," Seojun murmured, before he realized he had spoken aloud. Mira blinked, then let out a little laugh. "What's that supposed to mean? That I look fragile?" No, I just meant," he stammered. Mira giggled, melting away his embarrassment and sending butterflies racing through his chest. "So," Mira said suddenly, changing the subject, "how do you promote your music? Do you post your songs online? What's it like looking for a sponsor?" The question caught him off guard. "Well, I sing at restaurants when they need live music. I also do street performances and post online now and then," he said shyly. "Oh, let me see your social media then," Mira pressed, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. She handed him her phone. He typed in his handle and handed it back, looking away nervously. Scrolling through, Mira's lips parted in disbelief. After an uncomfortable pause, Mira sighed. "Seojun, you've only posted once every month or two for the past year. How do you expect to be discovered like this?" Seojun winced, eyes dropping to the ground. "I don't know. I used to post more often, but lately nothing feels good enough. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this." Mira had watched several of his videos. His singing and playing had improved steadily. That much was clear. The real problem, she realized, Was that he was losing faith in himself? And with that came the fear of criticism. She placed a hand gently on his arm. Look, the first night I heard you sing, I was annoyed, yes, but I also thought, wow, this guy has a beautiful voice. There are people out there waiting to hear you. You just need to let them know you exist. Seojun couldn't find words. No one had ever spoken to him like this. Mira went on, her tone firm but encouraging. How about this? Give yourself 6 months. Post something every day. Don't worry about views or likes. Just do it, and we'll see the difference it makes. At the very least, I can promise I'll watch every single one. Can you do that? Seojun nodded, obediently, almost shyly, her face lit up with a bright smile. Great, I'll look forward to it then, she said, turning toward the apartments. Seojun followed, his gaze fixed on her. When they reached her door, Mira paused and flashed him that radiant smile that seemed to light up the dim hallway. Good night, Mr. Music Star, she said, and disappeared inside. Good night, Mira, Seojun whispered to himself, feeling something stir in his chest, something more than gratitude or admiration, something dangerously close to longing. Entering his apartment, Seojun sat on the couch, still thinking wistfully about his conversation with Mira, when a notification popped up. Mira had followed him on social media. He followed her back and began scrolling through her account, smiling as he looked through her pictures. She was just as full of life online as she was in person, and she believed in him. He couldn't let her down. Seojun picked up his guitar, recorded a song, and for the first time in a while, posted it online. Mira woke up at 2 a.m. as usual to get ready for the day. She checked her phone and found an alert that Seojun had posted a video. As expected, it was beautiful. She liked it, left a comment, then got ready and headed out to work. Over the next few days, Seojun kept his promise. He recorded and uploaded new videos daily. At first, the results were disheartening. Hours passed with no notifications, no new followers, no likes, except for one. Mira. Seojun would sit on his couch, staring at her comments over and over, with a shy smile tugging at his lips. She left words like, "This gave me chills," and "You sound like you're singing straight from your heart." Seojun eventually found another part-time restaurant job and resolved to treat it more responsibly this time. No more running out for last-minute gigs. This was one of the things Mira had advised him to do. His new boss was kind, and he even had chances to sing live. One day, Mira stopped by at the restaurant after work to hear him perform. When he was done, he walked up to her to ask how he did. "That was lovely. You did great," she said, and Seojun grinned like he had won an award. He gathered his things to leave with her. On the way out, he bumped into a coworker and introduced Mira. The man grinned broadly and said, "Oh, so you're Mira. This kid never stops talking about you. It's always Mira this, Mira that." Seojun turned crimson with embarrassment and hurriedly said they had to leave, drawing laughter from the man. It wasn't far to the apartments, so they walked. "Thank you for coming, Mira," Seojun said, his voice full of gratitude. "Of course," Mira said, as though it was the most natural thing in the world to come support him after her long day. Seojun looked away, unable to control the racing of his heart when she looked at him like that. As they walked, his hand brushed hers slightly, sending a tingle up his arm. He wanted desperately to take her hand, but didn't, so instead he asked, "How was your day?" "It was all right," Mira said with a small sigh. "I love what I do, but teaching for so many hours every day can be exhausting." Without thinking, Seojun began singing a light-hearted song to comfort her. Mira chuckled, the fatigue on her face easing, and suddenly said she had an idea. Instead of just singing in restaurants, Seojun could perform on the streets in the evenings, asking people how they felt, and then singing a song based on their mood. "It could be one of your own songs or a cover of a popular one," Mira suggested. "And if you tag those people in the videos, they'll probably share them." Seojun thought it was a brilliant idea and promised to try it immediately. They walked the rest of the way home in companionable silence. Seojun began implementing Mira's idea every evening after work, and his videos gradually started getting more views. Then one evening, while he was at work, his phone buzzed nonstop with notifications. When he finally checked, he saw hundreds of likes and comments on his videos. He traced the surge back to a popular artist who had shared one of his street covers. He couldn't believe it. Excited, he rushed home after work and knocked on Mira's door. She opened it, her smile mirroring his as he showed her the post. "Mira, have you seen this?" he said, beaming. "I have," she said, eyes bright. "Your videos are finally getting the attention they deserve. I told you people were waiting to hear you." A flood of emotion swelled in Seojun's chest. He wanted to hug her, but would that be too much? Suddenly, Mira reached out and hugged him loosely. "I'm proud of you," she whispered, giving him a friendly pat on the back. He stiffened, reveling in the warmth of her embrace, but before he could return it, she pulled away. "I couldn't have done it without you," he said tenderly. Mira smiled sweetly, gazing up at him, and the air between them suddenly became tense with emotion. Seojun opened his mouth to say something, but then stopped himself. "I'll see you tomorrow. Good night, Mira," he said finally. Retreating to his room, Mira stared after him, her heart fluttering. What was this feeling? When Seojun entered his apartment, he gasped for air, realizing he'd been holding his breath. It had taken everything in him not to pull her closer. Did Mira really not know what she did to him when she looked at him like that? As he leaned against the door, melodies began floating in his mind, lyrics that described the petite woman who constantly plagued his thoughts. He grabbed his guitar and strummed softly as the words took shape. Within an hour, the song was complete. It was short, simple, and sweet, capturing everything he felt. The next day, Seojun recorded it. He thought about sending it to Mira, but couldn't find the courage. Someone as radiant as her surely belonged with someone more confident, more successful, someone who wasn't him. Still, how would he know if he never tried? After a long debate, he posted it online instead. So much for being brave. The entire day, he waited for Mira's comment. When it finally came, it read, "This is your best one yet. So beautiful." His heart soared. One day, he would tell her it was for her. That week at work, while students were being picked up, Mira heard someone call, "Miss Mabina?" She turned to find a young woman about her age. She introduced herself as Yuna, the sister of Hari, a girl who had graduated during Mira's first semester at the elementary school. "I wanted to thank you for taking such good care of my sister," Yuna said warmly. "She used to dislike studying, but it was your encouragement that kept her going. She said you were the sweetest teacher ever." Mira flushed. "Oh my, that's so kind of her to say. I just did my job." Yuna invited Mira to dinner, and she accepted. Over the meal, Yuna admitted she often traveled for work, and, due to their age gap, had struggled to connect with her sister Hari, but their relationship had improved since Mira came into her life. Mira and Yuna hit it off quickly, sharing stories about their siblings and exchanging advice. Over the next weeks, they often met for lunch or dinner and became close friends. One day, Mira asked Yuna about her work. As Yuna explained her logistics company and the solutions they provided, Mira grew alert. This could solve the main problems her family's paper factory faced. Excited, Mira mentioned it. Yuna was thrilled at the idea of testing in an international market. But as they talked, Mira realized she might need to return home to oversee the implementation. Her parents would struggle to adapt to new technology, and her siblings were too busy with school. As Mira hugged Yuna goodbye, the thought weighed on her mind. Meanwhile, Seojun's song, the one he had written for Mira, went viral. Couples began using it in their reels, and brands reached out for sponsorships. Producers contacted him about possible collaborations. Then, a well-known record label reached out, expressing interest in signing him on. Seojun was overwhelmed and couldn't wait to tell Mira. He knocked on her door, but she wasn't home. He texted her, "When will you be back? I have news." She replied that she was out having dinner with a friend and wouldn't return until late. His heart sank. He wanted to ask more, but felt it wasn't his place. Later, she sent him a photo of herself with Yuna. "Meet my new bestie." Seojun exhaled in relief. So it was a girl. But reality hit hard. What was he doing? Today, it was a friend. But would Mira wait forever for him to summon the courage to confess? He decided he couldn't stall anymore. He invited her to dinner over the weekend, saying he had something important to share. She agreed. That weekend, they sat in a modest but cozy restaurant. Mira glanced around, concern flickering across her face, as though worried it might be too expensive. "It's fine," Seojun said gently. "One meal won't make me broke." Mira flushed. "I didn't mean—" "I know, Mira," he said with a tender smile. She relaxed at the understanding in his tone. As they waited to be served, Seojun's nerves twisted. He was rehearsing how to confess when Mira suddenly said, "Oh, I have good news. Remember my friend Yuna?" She runs a logistics company, and one of their services might just be the solution to my family's problems. We could finally turn things around. That's amazing. Congratulations, Seojun said. Thanks, Mira replied softly, but I think I'll have to move back home to oversee things myself. Seojun froze, the meaning of the words cutting deep. After a long pause, he said, I guess you have to do what you have to do. Mira nodded, then asked, what was it you wanted to tell me? The confession died on his lips. How could he admit his feelings when she was leaving? Instead, he said, a record label wants to sign me. I've hired a lawyer, and we'll start with negotiating a 6-month trial contract. Mira's eyes lit up. That's incredible, Seojun. I'm so happy for you. Seojun forced a smile. He should have been overjoyed. This was his dream, so why did it feel meaningless without her by his side? They talked about everyday things through dinner and took a cab home together. At her door, they lingered in silence, both sensing the weight of unspoken words. Thanks for dinner. Good night, Seojun, Mira said softly, reaching for her door. On impulse, Seojun caught her wrist. She turned, eyes questioning. Mira, he stuttered. I'm glad I met you. Good night, he said finally, and let go. Before she could answer, he walked away. Inside her apartment, Mira leaned against the door, hand on her chest. Why did she feel so disappointed that he hadn't said more? The realization hit her. It was undeniable. She had come to care for him as far more than a friend. After that night, Seojun and Mira carried on with their lives. Soon, Seojun signed an agreement with the record label manager, Mr. Kwon. They settled with signing him on for a year, allowing the company enough time to test the waters with his music. As part of the contract, they moved him to a nice apartment close to the city center. The walls were soundproof, the rooms spacious. Everything his old place wasn't, but something felt missing. He could no longer see Mira by simply walking across the hallway. Still, he called or texted her almost every day. Mr. Kwon kept Seojun busy preparing for his debut tour. Once the tour began, Seojun was often traveling, but whenever he performed in town, Mira made an effort to attend his concert. And for Seojun, the highlight of every concert was seeing her in the audience, her smile brighter than any stage light. Seojun was assigned an agent, a young man named Juwon, who managed his schedule. Juwon spent most of the day with Seojun and couldn't help noticing the wistful smile that appeared whenever Seojun texted someone in particular. One afternoon, he asked cautiously, "You seem to be in a good mood. Is that your girlfriend?" Seojun's ears burned red. "No, just a friend," he replied quickly. Juwon nodded knowingly. He had worked with too many artists to not understand. In a way, he pitied Seojun. Young musicians rarely realized that fame came with a heavy price, the public's control over their private lives. It didn't take long for Seojun to realize this. Someone had unintentionally taken and posted a picture that included Seojun and Mira at the restaurant where they'd once shared dinner. With Seojun's increasing popularity, the picture was discovered and shared in a news article. The caption read, "Rising star Han Seojun spotted with rumored foreign girlfriend." The comments online exploded. There were very few voices in support. Toxic fans lashed out at the idea of him being in a relationship at all, much less with a foreigner. Netizens began digging into his past, uncovering where he used to live. Before long, someone captured a photo of Mira entering the building and claimed she resembled the woman in the blurry restaurant picture. The information spread like wildfire. Soon, fans camped outside her building, waving signs and shouting for her to leave him alone. Mira couldn't return home. She had to send Yuna to collect her belongings while she stayed the night at Yuna's place. Seojun called over and over, apologizing, asking if she was safe. His PR team scrambled to contain the damage. The company issued a statement denying the rumors, but it did little to stop the harassment. Threats kept flooding Mira's social media. One morning at work, Mira was summoned to the principal's office. He looked apologetic. "You've been a wonderful teacher, Miss Mabina," the principal said gently. "But the parents, they're concerned about their children becoming entangled in this matter. We think it would be best if you resigned. We promise to offer fair compensation." A lump rose in Mira's throat. She nodded, unable to argue. That evening, she returned to Yuna's apartment. The moment she saw her friend, she collapsed into her arms and wept. She had planned to leave at the end of the academic year, but not like this, not forced out by bullies with too much time on their hands. When she finally calmed down, She settled on the couch with Yuna by her side and said, "I think I'm going to move up my return home." "You're really leaving?" Yuna asked sadly. "You know you can stay here as long as you want, right?" Mira nodded. "I know, but still, I can't just sit around doing nothing. Finding a job here now would be impossible, and the earlier I go home, the sooner I can help get the new system up and running at the factory." "What about Seojun?" Yuna asked gently. "You have feelings for him, right? Will you tell him?" Mira's throat tightened. "It won't work out between us. Just look at what happened over one dinner and an unverified rumor. If we were really together, it could ruin his career, just like it ruined mine. And I don't want that to happen. It's better this way," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. Yuna gave her a comforting hug, patting her back gently. Seojun sat in his apartment, staring out at the glittering city skyline. He felt so powerless. He had wanted to be successful, to have more control over his life, but ended up not only having no control at all, but also hurting someone he cared very deeply for. Mr. Kwon had asked him to issue a public apology, but why should he apologize? For loving someone? For daring to want a life outside the stage? If he denied her now, what would that make him? A liar to the public and a coward to her. His phone buzzed. It was a text from Mira. It read, "Hey, I'll be leaving in a month. I think it's best if we don't meet in the meantime." Seojun's chest constricted. He stared out the window again, defeated. Juwon knocked on the door then and stepped inside carrying dinner. Seeing Seojun's downcast expression, he said, "You look pale. Is it her? The one you're always texting?" Seojun didn't even try to deny it this time. "Yes," he whispered and told Juwon the whole story. Juwon listened quietly, then said, "Mr. Kwon would probably skin me alive for saying this, but I've seen too many people lose what matters most in pursuit of fame. Just don't choose a path you'll regret." He placed dinner on the table and left. His words lingered with Seojun. A month later, Seojun was attending a music awards ceremony. He knew he had been nominated for Rising Artiste, but as the newest debut, he wasn't expecting to win. So when the host announced his name as winner of that category, he was stunned. The audience applauded. His peers clapped him on the back, urging him forward. On stage, holding the award, he tried to recall the company's prepared speech. "I'm very honored to receive this award," he began. "I'd like to thank those at the label who have supported me since the start of this journey. I also want to thank my friend." His voice trailed off as his eyes caught the sharp scowl of Mr. Kwon in the audience, warning him to stay on script. Seojun's heart pounded. Was this what his future would be? Pretending? Denying the one person who had given him the courage to sing in the first place? His gaze swept the room. A sea of strangers, none of whom mattered to him. He drew a breath and continued. "The truth is, I had lost all hope of ever becoming a successful musician until a wonderful woman came into my life. She believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, and she is the reason I wrote the song My Muse, which many of you know. So this award is dedicated to her." Gasps rippled through the hall, but he continued. "Thank you, and I hope you can keep supporting me in the future." The room was silent as he bowed and walked off stage. Mr. Kwon looked livid. His agent, Juwon, on the other hand, met him backstage, eyes shining with pride, and said, "It's nice to see someone brave enough to stand up to all this. Whatever comes next, don't regret this choice." Back at Yuna's apartment, Mira was finishing up her packing. In a few hours, Yuna would take her to the airport. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. She opened the door and froze. Seojun stood there, chest heaving like he had run to her door. "Seojun, what are you doing here? How did you find me?" Mira asked. Stunned, she glanced at Yuna, who stood behind her, avoiding her eyes. With a guilty smile and a mischievous wink, Yuna slipped away to her room, leaving them alone. Seojun immediately took her hand. "Mira, I've been such a fool," he said, his voice raw. "Since the day we met, it's always been about me, my dream, my music, but tonight, standing on that stage, I realized something. I don't want the spotlight if it means losing you. What I wanted all along wasn't fame. It was just the chance to share this part of me with someone I love. And Mira, it's you. I love you." Mira's lips trembled as she pulled her hands from his and turned away. What are you saying? Are you sure you're not just grateful for my help?" He stepped closer, eyes intense. "Mira, I started falling in love with you from the moment you handed me that box of cookies. If none of this had worked out, if I was still playing on street corners, I'd still be in love with you." Mira's cheeks flushed. Her heart pounded in her chest, but she said, "Seojun, I can't. I'm a simple person. I don't want to hide in the shadows, pretending not to exist, just so your career isn't affected. You're just starting out, and the label won't allow you to be with me." "I won't sign with them," Seojun said firmly, shocking her. "Once this year is over, I'm done. I'll become an independent artist. And when I sing, everyone will know that I love Mira Mabina, no matter what they think. I just need to know, do you feel anything for me?" Mira's voice faltered. I have feelings for you too, but I need time to think, and I still need to go home first." "I understand," Seojun said, with a smile that lit up his face. "Once I settle things here, I'll come find you. Trust me. Give me time to prove I mean what I'm saying, then decide if you want to build a future with me." "Okay," she whispered, avoiding the intensity of his gaze. He reached for her hand, lifted it to his lips, and asked softly, "May I?" Mira nodded shyly, unable to speak. He kissed the back of her hand tenderly, then raised his gaze to hers. In his eyes, she saw a longing that mirrored her own. When Mira's things were loaded into Yuna's car, Seojun hugged her tightly, burying his face in her hair, as if he wanted to keep her next to him forever. "Wait for me, Mira," he whispered. As the car pulled away, Mira turned in her seat, watching him in the passenger side mirror until he disappeared from sight. Mira sat in the general manager's office of her family's paper factory. She looked out the window, realizing it was already dark. Since coming home almost a year ago, she had worked tirelessly to implement the logistic solutions that could save the struggling business and increase their customer base. The days were often long, but they were making steady progress. The factory was no longer scraping by. There was enough profit to support her family, and they were even considering expanding operations. Everything was going great, except she missed Seojun a lot. They still talked every day, but it couldn't compare to walking beside him, teasing him, watching his shy smile, or feeling the warmth of his embrace like the night he hugged her goodbye. Mira had told her parents about him, but of course they were skeptical. Now that he was even more famous than before, would he actually leave the label for her? For some reason, though, her parents had seemed more open to the idea these past few weeks. Still, Seojun's contract would be expiring at any moment, but he hadn't brought it up, and she hadn't found the right time to discuss it either. If he decided he couldn't go through with it, would that be the end of their relationship? Mira shuddered at the thought, but shook her head, trying to convince herself to trust Seojun. A knock came at the office door. A sturdy figure stood in the doorway. It was her father, Mr. Mabena. "Hi, Dad," Mira said, smiling when she saw him. "Hey, Mimi, it's time to go home. Your mom made your favorite for dinner," Mr. Mabena replied, striding toward her. Mira glanced at her computer. "You go first, Dad. I still have some orders to look over. They're due tomorrow afternoon." Mr. Mabena sighed affectionately. "You can get them cleared in the morning. I'll help you." "Come on now. You've done enough already," Mira conceded, shutting down her computer and following him out of the already quiet factory. As they got into the car and drove the short distance to the family home, Mr. Mabena couldn't help but feel a strange mixture of pride and sadness. He was proud of the strong, intelligent, and resourceful woman Mira had become, almost single-handedly turning the business around. But he wished she didn't have to carry so much responsibility. Then his thoughts drifted to Seojun, the young man she was seeing, and he sighed, realizing that little Mimi wasn't a baby anymore. As they pulled up to the house, Mira noticed the family's old sedan in the driveway. It was the car her little sister drove. She turned to her father in surprise. "Kaya's home from school? Is Neo here too?" Her father nodded, grinning but looking a little nervous. "Yes, they decided to pay a surprise visit." Mira squealed with delight and raced toward the door. Kaya and Neo, her little sister and brother, were in their senior and sophomore years of college. She hadn't seen them in a few months, so she was ecstatic. As Mira made her way to the living room, she suddenly stopped in her tracks. She heard him before she saw him. The low murmur of a familiar voice reached her ears, and her heart began to pound. Her legs carried her forward until she reached the living room. "Surprise!" a loud voice yelled as a figure enveloped her in a crushing hug. It was her brother, Neo. "Let her go, Neo!" Kaya scolded gently, pulling him away to remind him he wasn't the center of attention. Mira stood still. Her eyes were locked on the man standing next to her mom. It was Seojun, She didn't dare move, afraid she was hallucinating, but then he stepped toward her, smiling shyly, and said, "Hi, Mira," opening his arms. Mira stepped into his embrace and clutched to him tightly. "You came," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "And you waited," Seojun whispered back, feeling like his world was finally whole again. A pointed cough sounded in the room. It was Mrs. Mabena. Mira stepped back from Seojun, blushing. Mr. Mabena had joined his wife on the couch, while Kaya and Neo stood in the corner, giggling. "What's going on?" Mira asked at last. Realizing everyone had clearly played her, it turned out that Seojun had gotten in touch with Mira's family a month ago through Yuna's help, and had strongly expressed his wishes to be with her. Finally, her parents had given their blessing, and Seojun had asked to visit and meet the entire family. That was why Kaya and Neo had suddenly come home. As they sat at the dinner table, Mira was still in disbelief. She talked to Seojun every day and never once suspected a thing. He had only told her he was traveling to shoot a video and would be unreachable for a couple of days. And there was also Yuna, her mischievous friend. The thought made her chuckle. She couldn't be mad at them. It was the most beautiful surprise ever. Now she just wished Kaya and Neo would stop giving her silly winks from across the table. When dinner was over, Mira and Seojun stepped out to take a walk in the fields behind her family home. As they watched the flowers sway in the gentle breeze, Mira turned to him and said, "My parents seem to like you. What did you tell them?" Seojun wrapped an arm around her waist, pulling her closer as he whispered in her ear, "That I love you, and that I want to spend the rest of my life with you, no matter what it costs me." Mira felt breathless under the intensity of his gaze. She managed to ask, "So, the contract? I'm done with the label. I'm officially an independent artist," Seojun said. Mira's eyes widened. She hadn't seen any official announcement on his page or the labels. "I got them to delay the announcement until tomorrow to keep up the surprise," he said with a grin. "From now on, I'm all yours." Mira felt an invisible weight lift from her chest as relief flooded through her. She lifted a hand to his face, her heart swelling with love for this man who had let go of so much to be with her. Seojun kissed the palm of her hand gently and met her gaze. "So, what do you say, Mira? Would you like to build a future with me?" She wrapped her arms around him, burying her face in his chest, and nodded. "Yes, with all my heart. Yes!" Almost in tears himself, Seojun pulled a small box from his pocket, went down on one knee, and gestured for her hand. She let him slip the ring onto her finger, beaming with love and excitement. When Seojun stood, he lifted her off the ground and spun her around until she was dizzy, and both of them were laughing breathlessly. They walked back to the house, hand in hand. Mira didn't even need to look up to know her parents and siblings were watching them from the windows. Kaya and Neo were probably making silly jokes right now. She smiled at the thought. Her family was together, the factory was thriving, and Seojun was here by her side. She couldn't wish for anything more. From then on, Seojun split his time between Botswana and Korea, since he had to return to record new songs. He and Mira planned to move to Korea when Kaya graduated and became more involved at the factory. In spite of Seojun's departure from the label, he still managed to gather a few sponsors for a mini concert. His former agent, Juwon, had resigned and chosen to become Seojun's personal manager. The concert was such a roaring success that he received countless offers from sponsors, collaborators, and even record labels. However, he refused to sign with a new label. When Seojun announced his engagement to Mira online, the reaction was as expected. Some fans lashed out in anger and disbelief, clinging to the fantasy of him remaining single. Others, however, rallied in his defense, applauding his courage and condemning toxic celebrity culture. Soon, it became clear that Seojun didn't care for public opinion, and the toxic fans moved on to new targets. A few celebrity friends reached out to congratulate him, some even confessing they wished they had his bravery. When they asked, "How did you do it?" Seojun's reply was simple, "I was more afraid of a life without Mira than I was of losing public support." During this time, Seojun was shocked to receive a call from his father. His dad had rarely picked up his calls since Seojun had disappointed him by pursuing music. On the call, his father told him they were sorry for pushing their expectations on him and were glad he had found both a career and a person that made him happy. Seojun had long forgiven them. He knew that, However misguided their actions had been, they had only wanted to protect him from what they believed was a mistake. He reconciled with both parents and even invited them to the wedding, which would be held a few months later. 2 years later, Seojun stood on the stage at one of Seoul's largest event centers. It was his first major concert since marrying Mira, and every ticket had sold out. As he prepared to sing the closing song, he said, "Tonight, I want to sing the song you all know, My Muse. But before that, I'd like to introduce the love of my life, the woman who inspired it, my wife, Mira Mabena." Backstage, Mira froze, instinctively resting a hand on her baby bump. She had never liked being in the spotlight, but when Seojun reached for her hand and coaxed her out, she stepped onto the stage briefly, bowing shyly as the crowd erupted in cheers. She slipped backstage again, watching with a tender smile as Seojun sang the song he had written for her. When he finished, he thanked the audience as they roared with cheers and applause. When he rushed backstage, breathless, he asked her, "How did I do?" Remembering him asking the same question after his small restaurant performance years ago, Mira cupped his face and smiled affectionately. "You were beautiful, Mr. Music Star." He kissed her then, slowly, sweetly, and rested his forehead against hers. Be it fans, critics, or media outlets, they all had different opinions of Seojun, but to Mira, he would forever be the guy whose voice had once woken her in the middle of the night, and to him, she would always be the barefoot, feisty, pajama-clad girl who had knocked on his door, and they wouldn't have it any other way.
Grew long and cold, I almost let the music go. Then a gentle voice I'd never known brought light into the shadows. And looking in your tender eyes, I heard a song come back to life. You are my muse, my calm in the courage behind this trembling voice. You show the way when I lose my tune. 사랑해요, my muse. You stirred the fire I thought was quenched. You gave me strength I never felt. And if this song should find your heart, know it's been yours from the start.